Hey folks, welcome back. So today we're going to take a look at using real steel Glock sights, or well, when I say real steel, I just mean they're still the polymer ones, because as you know, um, Glocks use polymer rear sights, but these are the same ones that are used on their 9mm counterparts. And this question came up because a lot of folks out there have really wondered, can we upgrade these Glocks and use like, whether it's a Trigicon or one of those more expensive Glock sights, right? And will they fit on these models right here, these replicas? Um, and I've seen mixed reviews. In the past, I know Stark Arms back in the days. Here's the Stark Arms right here. They've worked, and we were able to install them. But that's not necessarily the case for all of them, and we'll go into a little bit more detail why that is. So this right here is the actual rear sight from Glock. And as you can see back here, the base of it looks a little bit different from your normal ones. This is the one from the Stark Arms Glock right here. This is actually coincidentally also the same model as the one that's on the Elite Force too. They both share the same rear sight. As you can tell, it's hollow on the inside right this, right? And the U part is actually just painted in. The real steel version is actually a solid plastic insert, so it's not painted in, it's actually inserted in there. The only known Glock model out there that I know of that does this is KSC. Theirs is actually a plastic insert as well and not painted on, which is very nice. Same goes for the front sight as well. This is the real steel Glock one. Again, I know it's real. When I say real steel, I just mean the actual 9mm one, even though these are actually well known to be polymer. Again, same thing. The white dot right there is not painted in. It's actually a plastic insert that goes in there. So here is the first situation. This is the Stark Arms Glock right here, G19. In this situation, you could just slide it in. I've already pushed it out and to the left. There are some installation tools that you can use. Some folks use like a nylon punch to prevent scratching and then punch it out. Others, which is not really recommended, but if you go to the store, they have like these tools. They're like a vice grip that kind of accurately slides it in and pushes it in or out. But for now, that's what I didn't have those obviously, so I kind of just pushed it out with my hands. It's already a little bit loose, but as you can tell, this is how it would go in, and you would push it out, and it would go out like that way. In this case, this is the only gun that I've been able to get it to slide in. It is a tight fit, but it does slide in ultimately. I'm not going to push it in completely just yet because I want to still use it, and it does take a little bit of effort to remove. But this does slide in and it does work. But unfortunately, though, it does not work for the WE, which is a very common model out there. And the reason why, I'll show you folks, is that here is a WE. This is a Gen 5 G19 upper slide right here. I have to be careful with this one because I've removed the upper or the rear sight. But as you can tell, it looks nothing like the real steel and the design, because in the Stark Arms, it doesn't, the rear slide doesn't isn't required to hold in the blowback housing unit. Whereas in the WE models, this is what it looks like. There's a screw right here. I don't know if you folks can see it right there, but that actually screws directly into the base of the rear sight. And this rear sight right here is actually designed to hold in the blowback housing unit. So without it, you can't, you won't be able to use the real steel one because it won't hold it in. You need that lower part and the screw to hold it in. Now, so that's kind of disappointing. The same thing goes, unfortunately, for Marui. This is a Marui slide right here, upper, and they use the same principle. So that's kind of unfortunate. But what about the Elite Force? The Elite Force kind of has this is the most common replica that now you can get in the United States, and it's kind of similar to the Stark Arms, but I've noticed though that it's still a bit rough to push in the real steel. This is it right here. It still takes a lot of effort, and I think I was able to push in somewhat, but it does take a lot of effort to push it in, and you do have to kind of loosen up that bottom screw in order to let it pass the rear edge sight to pass through. So, you know, for something like to invest in something like $150 for a Trigicon night sight, I just don't know if it'd be worth it, especially since it might take some more additional modification to loosen it up a little bit in order to seat in the rear sight appropriately. So you notice how hard it is to remove, whereas this is the stock model right here. You're able to quite easily slide it in. See, so that's, to me, I feel like that's a possibility. It's a possibility on the Elite Force, not a guarantee. It's a slim fit, maybe some modification, but I think it's plausible. The Stark Arms here, again, this is the real steel. I'll do it for the final video right here, is confirmed to be able to work. And I think I like this better, actually, since the quality is a lot better than the original. I will keep this in here. See, so that's how it looks like. So this is the only known model that can take the real steel rear sights. Now, that's unfortunate, but what about the front sight? They kind of look similar, but they're not, unfortunately. Let's start out with go back to the WE, okay? As you notice right there, it's a square peg. That's where the front sight would go into. Unfortunately, on the real steel, notice how that's a kind of like an oval, like a tic-tac shape. It's not going to go, a round circle is not going to go into a square peg, unfortunately. So that's ruled out, basically, which is kind of a bummer. Same thing, that's the same model. When I took apart the Marui, it has the same issue. It uses a square system. Marui and WE, they kind of go hand in hand. They kind of do the same thing. And so if it doesn't work for the Marui or the WE, or sorry, if it doesn't work for the WE, probably isn't going to work for the Marui. And I've confirmed that with this for sure. The Stark Arm, or sorry, the Elite Force, however, is the only one that potentially, again, it's another plausible, I just can't confirm, because even though when I took out the screw, it does use kind of an oval tic-tac shape formation as the real steel. Only problem, though, is that it's been glued in, and I cannot for the life of me remove the front sight post. So I think if you were really adamant and you can pry it off, it's plausible that this would work. I can't confirm that though, but it's a possibility. So my final verdict is, I think, you know, through this testing of this cheaper, you know, the stock Glock sights, you can probably extrapolate this information and say that, hey, you know what, it's probably not going to work for the real steel, you know, for the Trigicon or any of the more expensive night sights that you're looking for. You know, unfortunately, that's the case, unless you have a VFC or the original Stark Arms like this one right here. Again, the Elite Force, possibly with some modification, but unconfirmed. If you have WE or Marui or KSC, unfortunately, no, it's not going to work. So I hope you folks found that useful. You know, I don't think this was a complete waste, because you know, it's nice to take a look at the real steel and actually be able to install it on the one of the guns here. So hopefully you folks found that useful. See y'all next time.